Hello and welcome back to the channel. In today's video I'm going to be sharing with you a requested video on how to cut this stylish 3-part corset with a pointy cup. So if this is something you like, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up. So let's dive right into today's video. So to start, I've gone ahead to mark out all the basic measurement that I need, which is my shoulder to bust, shoulder to under bust, shoulder to waist, and 5 inches to get my top length. Next, I'm going to mark my shoulder divided by 2, which is 14 divided by 2, giving me 7. I'll come down by 1 inch, place my ruler, and I'm going to go ahead to draw out a slanted line to the tip of my pattern paper. Next, I'll find my chest line, which is your bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches. I'll make a mark at that point, place my ruler and draw out a straight line. Next, I'll place my tape and I will mark my shoulder divided by 2, the same thing I have at the upper part, and I'll draw out a straight line at this point. So after I'm done connecting now, I'll go ahead to divide my armhole into 2. So after that, I'll just mark at that point and I'll be coming in by ½ inch. After marking the ½ inch, I'll mark my bust circumference divided by 4 on my chest line, and I'll go ahead to connect this all the way to the upper part, touching the ½ inch at the armhole. I'll mark my basic neckline of 3 by 3 inches, which I'll be using as a guide for this pattern. After I'm done outlining this, I'm going to go ahead to mark out my dart for this pattern, and to do that I'll start with marking my nipple to nipple divided by 2. My nipple to nipple is 7 inches, divided by 2 I have 3.5. Now I'm going to mark this all the way to the lower part, and after I'm done marking, I'm going to place my ruler and I'm going to go ahead to connect this all the way to the lower part of my pattern. After this, I'll go ahead to mark out my dart. And to mark my dart, I'll be marking 1 inch dart intake on both sides. So for a plus size, you'll be using 1.5 inches on both sides, or if you're a bit busty, so making it a 3 inches dart. I'll place my ruler and I'll draw out a straight line on both sides of my pattern. So I'll go ahead and connect from my bust all the way to the under bust on both sides. Now I'm going to use my marker to outline this to make this very visible for you to see. So the next step to take is to divide what I have left at my armhole into 2. And after I'm done marking, I'll connect it all the way to the upper part on that point, and I will go out by 2 inches to mark my dart for this pattern, and I will connect. So after I'm done connecting, I'll just go ahead and use my marker to outline this to make it more visible for you to see. So the next step from here right now is to go ahead to insert my body measurement. I'll mark my bust circumference divided by 4, and I'll pick a point and mark 1 inch dart intake and add ½ inch for my sewing allowance. At the under bust, I'll mark my under bust circumference divided by 4, measure the dart intake, replace, and add my sewing allowance. Now at the waistline, you want to snatch your waist, so I'm taking out 4 inches from it. My waist is 28 minus 4, I have 24. So your 24, you're going to fold your tape into 2. So after folding, you fold again. So what you have is 6 inches. Go ahead to mark, measure your dart intake, and add ½ inch for your sewing allowance. Here I'll mark my hip circumference divided by 4 and measure these 2 inches dart intake, replace, and I will add my sewing allowance. So after that, I'll just go ahead and place my curve drew, connect from the under bust to the bust, from the under bust to the waist, and down to the blouse length this way. So after I'm done connecting, I'll go ahead to use my marker to outline this. Next, I'm going to be coming down by ½ inch or 1 inch from my chest line and come in by ½ inch. Now I'll connect from the bust down to I'll connect from the under bust down to that point or to the upper part of that point, and I'll draw it out. And after I'm done marking that, I'll use my marker to outline this to make it more visible for you to see. So the next step is also to mark out the other side. So what I have between these 2 points, my armhole and my bust circumference, I'll divide it into 2. And from there, I'll place my curve drill and I'll connect down to my under bust. Now, I'm going to go ahead to use my marker to outline it also to make it more visible for you to see. After I'm done outlining, the next step I'm going to take is to go ahead to come down by 3 inches or 3.5 inches. So pick any point that you are okay with for the pointy part of your cup. So now I'll just go ahead and I'll draw out or try to trace out the shape we have there. So at this point, if you notice the cup is not so straight, it's a bit bent at the side. So from here, I'll connect it to the armhole. So this is what I have, and I'll go ahead to use my marker also to outline this and also outline the other side of my pattern. So this is what I have, and I'll go down by 1.5 inches from that side, and from here I'll just go down by 1 inch. So I marked this corset in 2 methods. If you want to use a bust dart and if you don't want to, so I ended up merging up the dart lines this way and I connected. So if you don't want to use a bust dart, this pattern is complete for you this way. All you have to do is just to go ahead and cut out your pattern, right? So I went up by 2 inches from the side, and I will also connect it down to the to the top length. So this is what I have, and just like I said, if you're not making use of a bust dart, this pattern is complete for you. All you have to do is to cut out. But if you're making use of a bust dart, go ahead and mark that. So I'll go ahead and mark 1.5 inches. So to get your bust dart is the difference between your shoulder to waist in front and your shoulder to waist at the back. My shoulder to waist in front is 17 inches and the back is 15.5, so making it a difference of 1.5 inches. So now you're going to go ahead to readjust your cup because you're using a bust dart. So I'll just go ahead and blend this up, and after blending it, you notice that that line at the 3-part corset area will not be there again. So what I'm going to do is to go ahead and connect your bust dart first, and after that you're going to go ahead to readjust your cup. So I use the marker to outline it so that it will be more visible. Then I'll blend this part of the cup this way, and now I'm going to readjust my 3-part corset. So this is what I have after I'm done drawing out. So for those that don't want to use a bust dart, this is how your cup will be. But if you're using a bust dart, you're going to blend it in, and this is what you have. So I'm doing this way because I have a lot of questions about using a bust dart and not using a bust dart on a corset cup. So whichever method is okay for you, go ahead to use that. So I'll just go ahead and label this as side and center, and I'll go ahead to cut out my pattern. So at this point, if you find this tutorial very interesting and educative, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, leave your comments at the comment section, and if you also have a question, also go ahead and leave it at the comment section. And you can also subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is Maki's Closet. There I do both cutting and sewing tutorials. So for those that have been asking me about sewing tutorials, I have a channel where I do both cutting and sewing. You can go ahead to check that out. After cutting, I'll go ahead to cut out my cup, and for the upper part of this cup, you'll be merging it up as one piece before joining the lower part. So going down to the back pattern, I've gone ahead to mark out all the basic measurements, which includes my shoulder to bust, shoulder to waist, and top length. So if you notice, my back waistline is 15.5 inches, and we made use of a bust dart at the front, and I added extra 5 inches for the blouse length. So I'll just go ahead and label this out so that it will be very easier for you to understand what I'm doing. So after now, I'll go ahead to mark my dart, which is my nipple to nipple divided by 2. My nipple to nipple is 7 inches divided by 2. I have 3.5 inches, and I'll mark this all the way to the lower part of my pattern. Go ahead to place my ruler and I'll draw out a straight line. I'll be marking a basic dart of ½ inch on both sides, and after marking that, I'll come down by 1 inch at the bust, go down by 4 inches at the under bust, and I'll go ahead to connect this and also connect at the upper part of my pattern. So after I'm done connecting, next is to insert my body measurement, and I will go ahead to just outline this before inserting that. So at the bust area, I'll be marking my bust circumference divided by 4, then measure my dart intake. Here I'll mark my waist circumference divided by 4. That is the waist circumference we used for the front, which is snatched. Measure the dart intake, replace, and add ½ inch for the sewing allowance. So this pattern, you don't need too much sewing allowance. It's an inbuilt corset. Here I'll go ahead to mark my my hip circumference divided by 4 and add ½ inch. After that, I'll just go ahead and connect this all the way from the upper part to the lower part of my pattern. Then I will just go ahead and outline this. Next, we'll be marking the lacing bar area, and I'm using 2 inches. This 2 inches is not a standard. Go ahead to use what you're okay with, and I'll just go ahead to draw out a straight line at this point. After that, I'll come down by ½ inch. Go ahead to extend this all the way to the chest line. This ½ inch prevents the back part to be popping up after you're done lacing it. So from here, I'll go up by 2 inches and mark, and then go ahead to reconnect it to the lower part. So after I'm done reconnecting, I'm done drafting out my pattern, and I'll just go ahead to cut this out. So at this point, if you find this tutorial very interesting and educative, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, leave your comments at the comment section, and also see you in our next video. Thanks.